wanted to see the bigger picture in all of it and really like have a vision. And in some way, shape, or form, I envisioned this life.
This episode is brought to you by
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Chat with Mick. And right next to me is, oh my gosh, she's so beautiful, and I'm totally amazed that she's actually here with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, let's all welcome Maria Gigante.
Hello and mabuhay from the Philippines.
And so she's just here from the Philippines. We're actually in beautiful Walden, and there's such an amazing view out there. But there's even a more amazing view right next to me.
You're so sweet. Thank you. Thank you so much.
And so, how has your experience been like here in the US for the last few days that you've been here?
It's been amazing. I've always, back home, I've always heard that I would blend right into LA because of the way that I sound, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is actually my first time in America. I've spent a total of probably 2 weeks here, and not a single person has asked me if I'm new in town. So that's probably a good sign.
Yeah, I think
Right?
so too. Yeah.
Yeah, I really loved meeting the Filipino community here, first at church, and then I got to work with Operation Blessing. We did a relief for the California wildfire victims. And we also got to work with the Whole Self, which is a brand based in, I think, Rancho Cucamonga. And I had the most amazing time. I'm spending my time mostly with women, each very empowering on their own. And now I've met you.
Yeah,
your stories inspire me so much.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Every single one of you play into this larger, overarching theme of really helping each other out, you know, the sense of community and empowering each other. And it's so genuine, it's so inspiring. It makes me feel like, okay, there is a community out there. When I won Universal Woman, one part of my answer was saying that I was proud of belonging to an army of women who are ready and willing to change the world. And I feel like that's what I'm encountering here. You are all a part of that, you know?
And you're certainly ushering in the new era of beauty. Right? We were just talking about this earlier, and it's all about community. It's all about, not so much about the physical aspects, but
so much.
of course you have to look stunning, right?
Thank you.
In a beauty pageant. But tell us more about what that pageant was like for you.
Okay, so I actually was 29 or 30 years old. I had quit pageantry. So back home, most of you know me as a host. Okay, so I've hosted pageants like Miss Grand, Miss World, I did Miss Teen Universe, I did Miss Universe Cambodia this year, and everybody knows me as kind of a storyteller and a bigger sister to the candidates on stage. That's always what I wanted to do. My origins are in volunteer work, you know, I'm from an island, and at a very early age I got involved with Gawad Kalinga and NGOs, helping out, providing relief. So I really got into pageants to have the platform to make a difference because I saw how many people listened whenever a beauty queen would speak, right? And I thought to myself, maybe I can get funding for my projects if ever I became a volunteer, because we were so used to working on a zero budget like situation. It was so hard for us to put things up, although we had the heart, but we didn't have the means, right? So when I got appointed Universal Woman Philippines, at first I said no. I said no because I was so heartbroken from losing so many times, and all I wanted to be was a Miss Philippines. That's all I wanted to do, by the way. I just wanted a sash. I just wanted to know what it felt like to wear Philippines across your chest and to be able to represent the culture that I know and love so well on an international stage. But then when I got to the competition, I thought, you know what? Maybe I'll try and win, you know? I looked around me and I saw, it was the Filipino community abroad that really like inspired me, because when they saw that I had Philippines across my chest, imagine the group of girls arrive at a venue and all of a sudden you have the personnel or whoever was there or the singer, they would say, "Where's Miss Philippines? Where's Miss Philippines? Where's Miss Philippines?" And the look on their face, that look of pride, of looking as if you visited home just by seeing a person, that inspired me so much. You know, I'm morena, I look like you. Like, that's what I'm all about. I'm all about representation. I want to make everyone feel seen and feel heard. That's why I got into hosting and all of that. So my Universal Woman journey was such a magical one because it started with a heartbreak, I was going to quit already. But then I gave it one more shot. And that's how I became an international title holder. So it's crazy. I think the moral of the story really was never to give up, not even when you felt like giving up. I knew in my heart that I was over with it. I thought to myself, you know what? This is what made me say yes, by the way. I thought to myself, like, why should I go and do it? I should just focus on my career, right? There are women all over the world that don't need crowns to be good at what they do. They have skill, they give value. And that's what I want to do. I want to help people tell their stories. Of course, a crown wouldn't hurt, so thank you, God.
And so, going back to home.
Yes.
Earlier, we were talking about home, and you're from the island.
Yes.
And you lived in your island for a very long time, and you would go to your island like on vacation.
Yes.
But what was it like when you were growing up? Did you always dream of becoming a beauty queen? Did you always dream of becoming a title holder? And how did you get into pageantry?
I actually didn't dream of being a beauty queen. I dreamt of being a pilot. I wanted to do something extraordinary. I wanted to do something of meaning. My dad was a pilot, and when he grew up on the island, his biggest dream wasn't even to fly. It was just to have peanut butter in the fridge all the time, because he said his rich friends, he didn't have a TV growing up. So he would go and watch TV at his neighbor's house, and he would say they always had peanut butter. So he just wanted peanut butter in his fridge all the time. That's what drove him to become a pilot, because the opportunity presented itself, and he was like, okay, that's for sure gonna give me peanut butter all the time. It was such a simple dream, right? But when I saw his life and I saw how remarkable his story was, I come from a family of seafarers and fishermen on my dad's side. On my mom's side, they're doctors. But what was remarkable about it was he came from such a small island, and he managed to lead this incredible life that gave me the education that I have, and it empowered me to be able to touch the lives of others, to learn so many things. I loved studying so much. I love learning. I'm a very curious person, and in many ways I think that led me to the path of being a beauty queen, because I grew up on an island. We spoke about it earlier, but I didn't exactly have the means to choose whatever profession that I wanted, because life was still hard, when we got to the city. So one of the ways that I ended up going into pageantry was that I was discovered as a model. And I never, ever thought I could be a model. I was a nerd. I was the best in my physics class. That's who I was as a kid. I was a varsity player. I was so boyish. But I learned that I could earn money this way. And I was always the kind of kid that I didn't want my parents to think that my diapers need changing. I wanted to be independent. So I pursued modeling. I pursued pageantry as a way to kind of multiply my talent fee, right? Because you would earn more if you had a title in the Philippines. So I guess in one way, it also served my social project, that my platform was amplified. But in another way, it gave me the independence that I wanted as a woman, to choose what I wanted to do and to choose what I want in my future. Before you know it, I was discovered by another pageant trainer, Mami Jonas Borses, who later on turned out to be my uncle.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know.
So it runs in the blood.
Oh yeah, he taught me everything I know about being a girl, and he made me join Binibining Pilipinas for the first time. That time was when I really got obsessed with wanting a title. Because I saw how much people loved their beauty queens and how much people believed in them and listened to them. And I thought, I could use this platform for a greater cause. I could use it for my community. I have a community in Bantayan Island that's 8 years old. It's called Obra. And we repurpose burlap and fabric sacks, and we turn them into household materials that are sustainable. So reusable diapers, reusable napkins, aprons, all that stuff. And it's inspiring because it's an initiative that came from the community. I actually bought the sewing machines with my first winnings from Binibining Cebu. And then we turned it into a classroom and everything. So I'm really grateful that after all this time, everything kind of came full circle, and I forgot your question. I just trailed off. We talked about so much stuff today.
You actually got to it.
Yeah.
The question was, how did you get into pageantry? And
right. It was kind of everything.
What was
just
your dream
going on?
And you wanted to be a pilot.
I wanted to be a pilot. I wanted to fly. I love the feeling of being in an airplane. I love the feeling. I like birds so much. That was the most random thing. I like birds, and I just, The first time when I would lay on the beach when I was a kid,
Mm-hmm.
I would always wonder what it's like to be a bird. I don't know why.
But it's certainly
Yeah.
it's a metaphor for what you're doing now, because
Right.
you're sort of flying with flying
In a
colors,
way, right? I was
yeah,
soaring,
and it's
yeah.
taking you this, your title, your universal woman is
Yeah.
taking you all over the world and into so many different places, and
Yeah.
now you're here in
Yeah,
California.
and in one way, birds kind of have this bird's eye view
Mm-hmm.
of everything, right? And the moral of my trip here in the US is I'm encountering so many empowered women that it just inspired me so much to have my own vision of the future. And in that way, I guess that's why I wanted to be a bird, because I wanted to see everything in full view, I wanted to see the bigger picture in all of it and really have a vision. And in some way, shape, or form, I envision this life that I have now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm happy that, with hard work and dedication, it wasn't always easy, and determination that I got it. And I'm so grateful for people like Tita Florence, our CEO, Miss Carolina Cortas. Shout out to her. Very empowered women. This pageant platform is actually built and owned by all women who are themselves a reflection of the very title holder that we're trying to find. They all have kids, they all have businesses, they're all involved in some kind of community development work or giving back to the society. And that's really how we see the new era of beauty. We want to reevaluate what it means to be beautiful in the 21st century.
And so you mentioned, as you're ushering in a new idea of what beauty means, and the pageants, a lot of pageants are now more open to different body types, different different kinds of people, and they're open to single women who are mothers. A lot of people are in different professions, and so given all of that, we know that there are challenges along the way. And so what kind of challenges did you encounter as you were going through this journey in pageantry? You said you've always been wanting to get a Binibining Pilipinas title, but that didn't happen for a long time. And so what was that like? What was going on in your head, knowing that you wanted to get somewhere and get a title and a crown for yourself?
There were a number of thoughts, but like a handful of them would have been, is this really for me? I would always ask God, is this what's meant to be? Because every time I joined and had the opportunity to become a Miss Philippines, there was so much clamor from my fan base for me to become a Miss Philippines. And they were disappointed twice, or I think even 3 times. No, but I only formally joined twice. So I kind of, when the opportunity came to be Universal Woman, at first I said no because of that, because there had been so many disappointments before. And in some way, I was also already turning 30. I wanted to focus on the next decade of my life. What is my legacy that I want to be known for? Because basically, I would have to start building it now, right? And just at the time when I was starting to think of what is the kind of legacy I would leave, it literally just landed in my hands. Like the national director acquired the franchise. 2 days later, we were together. I was hosting a pageant for him. And I said to Tito Arnold, who is also my manager in the Philippines, hi Tito Arnold, I said to him, congratulations, you have a new pageant platform. What is that about? And he said, oh, thanks, I'm sending you. My heart dropped. The whole year was booked with events. I had so many schedules in the Philippines because I decided I was going to focus on hosting, right? I just opened my business. I was 2 years old at that time, with 1 year at a physical location. So I had things to do that year. And I said, what do I do? So I usually call the office and I ask different people their opinions, like the stylist, our COO. They all said I should go. They all said I should go. And I thought, okay, maybe I should. And that moment, there was no way for me to know that I actually had a chance of becoming Universal Woman, right? But instead of manifesting and saying, oh, I want a title, I want to be a Miss Philippines, why don't I try asking? Right? Maybe this was the opportunity that I longed for all along. The perfect moment never comes when you want it to come. It just happens to you. And sometimes it's long after you've given up, right? But in a way, I feel like all the hardships kind of built me up to where I am now. Because I needed to be humbled down, and maybe that was my lesson, right? Like I needed to learn to be able to speak to people and really ask them about their stories and genuinely listen and care about where they're coming from. I'm a very curious person, so I mean, I was asking you about yourself earlier and what is it that you do that you like, because I find that every person has a story worth sharing that we don't necessarily know about. And you're a storyteller yourself. I'm sure you know this plenty, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so it was serendipity at its finest. You literally opportunities were knocking at your door and you just had to grab it without, and let faith handle.
Yeah, it
Right.
happened so fast. I was appointed 2 weeks before I left for the international competition. And it almost seemed like all the pieces were at where they were supposed to be for me to be able to leave and to be prepared. I had to make decisions. No more new gowns made, no more new dresses, because 2 weeks is such a small time. I was going to the Fashion Institute of the Philippines at the time, and it was smack dab in the middle of my pattern making class. So I turned to my classmates who used to say, isa pa, bigyan mo ng isa pa, join Miss Universe. Sabi ko, okay, eto na. I went to school and I said, guys, you're gonna make me one dress each. You were praying for it, right? And they're like, oh, you're gonna join? I was like, no, I have a crown na. So they were so shocked. They're like, I'm leaving in 2 weeks to compete in Cambodia. They made everything I wore in the competition. My teachers and my classmates. And it was a winning wardrobe. I'm so proud of them. You really don't have to look so far, Sometimes what you need to achieve your dreams is it's right in front of you, right? You just need to mobilize the people who are in your life. Much like your story. Like you were telling us earlier at lunch how you kind of started with dipping your toes and everything little by little until the next thing you know, everybody knew who your name was, or who you were and what you did.
And so just like as blessings were coming your way, and I know you have a bigger purpose in life. And so you've been involved with charity work,
Yes,
and you've been involved with advocacy. So what is that advocacy about?
Well, now that I'm a title holder, let me tell you about my advocacy work from before. So I started volunteering when I was 18 in Gawad Kalinga. I started taking photos, building houses, and responding to the communities that needed relief in times of calamities. I did some volunteer work in Bohol. I did it in Bantayan also. 2 weeks later, during Yolanda. However, I couldn't do Leyte because it was a very dangerous situation for women, since there were so many like jails that had that like prisoners had escaped. So they were like saying it's very dangerous. There was looting. So all I did at that time was man the repacking centers at my alma mater, Sacred Heart School, Ateneo de Cebu at that time. Those were good times. I was there for about 3 weeks, and sometimes we would just sleep there on the floor in Bohol too for like 3 weeks. So my background was really volunteer work on the site, on the ground, a recon, and basically reporting how many goods we needed to distribute, also in the repacking facility. That was my background, and I'm so thankful for my relationship with Gawad Kalinga because it allowed me to have that sense of direction, and the experience that I needed for community development projects. So later on, when I got involved in bigger projects like the Big Bad Wolf, which is a literacy campaign that travels all around the world, I slowly started to catch on projects that I wanted to be more involved in. So when Universal Woman finally came along, I grabbed every opportunity to work with every organization you can imagine. So in Cambodia, we started our work with Operation Smile. This was as a candidate. I discussed a project which I mean to continue with my Miss Argentina, which is in speech therapy. It's in the works. I'm gonna rope in another beauty queen from the Philippines. She's also an international pageant title holder. The second one is Una Manla Foundation in South Africa. They are an organization that supplies school shoes to children in need. They're also supporting education, but through the distribution of other things that they need in school. I also work with Rest Haven in South Africa, which is a home for the aged. It's a home for all ages. So they have orphans, but they also have elderly people that are not being taken care of by their parents. Us Filipinos, we take care of our parents. Like, this is a cultural thing, and I'm so happy that we do it. That's just me as a person. We all make our own choices, right? I'm sure it's very different here in the United States. However, it never occurred to me when I visited that home that you can have parents and not want to take care of them. This is just me as a Filipina, and it made me so sad, but at the same time, it touched my heart so much because I remembered how much old people just value company, you know, company, how much the elderly value just good old-fashioned company. And they're telling me stories about their kids visiting them after the longest time. It's so touching, and I can't wait to work with that organization more. They have a fundraising for them because they're trying to build more rooms to house more people. In Bantayan, I have that organization, Obra, which is a collaboration with Gawad Kalinga. I talked a little bit about it earlier. And here in the United States, we're working on an early childhood literacy campaign called Preface. We're going to bring it to the Philippines. It's founded by Tita Florence's nephew, and I'm very, 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 very excited to do that. We're discussing the specifics later on this month. What else have we done? We also work together with TFC and the Christian Broadcasting Network for Operation Blessing, which was the distribution to the California wildfire victims. So it's quite a lot, a lot. And there are many more along the way. We have a social project in India together with my Miss India, Apeksha. Hello, Apeksha. She's working on menstrual health. So there's so many, really. It's multifaceted because I think when it comes to helping each other out, it really has to be a holistic approach, right? There are many different sectors in which we can help and in which I can utilize the platform for a better cause.
So what is the timeline for all these things happening? Is there a milestone that you want to reach for the year or for the next year?
Definitely, definitely. So for Obra, my personal organization, I wanted to, how much can I say? Maybe you can just expect our products to be available online soon to make it accessible to a wider audience. It's something that we've been working on since before I got appointed. Actually, the calendar for that was supposed to be 6 months ago, but then I wasn't Universal Women Philippines when we planned that yet. So we've pushed things back a little bit because I'm also accommodating other organizations. And one that I forgot to mention was actually the org I'm going to meet with after our interview. They are the Pink Sisters. They're very well known in the Philippines, in Cebu. I can't really remember the very long name they have, but they're basically sponsored by Pink Heaven, the restaurant, which is owned by one of my best friends in the whole world who surprised me when I came here. Yeah, and I'm named Maria because I was born on September 8th. So they're Marian devotees. So they were the first who called us, and I said yes right away to working with them. They put up Homes of Love here in the USA. Homes of Love is not a new thing. It's been happening in the Philippines. They have helped over 18,000 Filipino students with school supplies. And they help victims of human trafficking by providing them with halfway homes, psychological evaluation, and of course counseling, and all of the things that they need to be able to assimilate back into society. So that's another charity that we're working with. So it's a lot. It's really a lot. I think our plan is to in some way connect the dots and to be able to get some of these orgs to have collaborations with each other, right? Because they're very compatible. Just as I'm describing them, they seem they would go well together. And because also if we fuse them, then we fuse the different people who follow different kinds of movements. And so we have a wider audience when it comes to who can help, right? And it doesn't hurt to have fresh eyes on everything. So I'm hoping that Preface will arrive in the Philippines within the next year. And I would hope to reach out to schools and orphanages for our early childhood literacy campaign. A lot of the focus of for the remainder of my reign will be devoted to that. And of course my own organization, Obra, but I only have until June. So it's a lot.
There's a lot of work.
But I'm not gonna stop working on it. I've had Obra for all the times I attempted to be Miss Philippines, and I never stopped working on it because my philosophy when it came to pursuing a crown was that a real queen doesn't need one. You know, with or without a crown, your social project should still be there. You should always be advocating for positive social responsibility and being a part of something greater than yourself.
And so crown or no crown, you've certainly been a connector, and now you're being a connector all over the world, right? So what was that experience like of connecting with people from Cambodia, from different parts of Asia, different parts of the world? What was that like?
So I have so many Cambodian fans, and I love them. Yes, it's Cambodian. So you can say hello to our Cambodian fans by saying Chom Rip So.
Chom Ripsu.
Oh, Chom Ripsu, she's so good.
Sawadika.
Sawadika to the Thai fans out there. So yeah, how was it being in Cambodia? Was that your question again?
how was your relationship with all these candidates from different countries?
All right.
What was it like?
Amazing. Being in an international pageant is really an experience on its own because you meet women that are just like you. They're equally as passionate about their own country as you are. So in a way, being at a dinner table with them is like traveling the world. My roommate was Pakistan, and she was the first representative of her country in Universal Woman, just as I was the first representative of the Philippines. So in a way, we kind of shared the journey together. I learned so much about her culture, about her religion, about when the pageant was happening, it was Ramadan. So she had to fast, right? So I thought it would be cute if I fasted with her during the competition. I mean, it wouldn't hurt to be on a diet, right?
And so that's empathy for you.
Yeah, it is.
And so what happens, I'm curious, what happens when, all these other candidates don't get the crown? Because there's only one person who gets the crown and the title.
Right. I really appreciate the camaraderie between women that are already accomplished, right? Because there's this kind of sportsmanship amongst us that, it's just business. We don't take it personally. We know that we all wanted the same thing, but at the same time, we acknowledge that, okay, only one person can be the winner tonight, and okay, maybe you deserved it, right? I remember before I was even crowned, it was the top 5, and we had gone backstage, and my sisters were like, sweetheart, it's yours already, it's yours. Even my first runner-up, we were standing, the two of us there by ourselves, and she was saying that she was taking my hands, and she was like, hold my hand, and I was like, okay. And then I was like, oh my gosh. She was like, don't be nervous, it's you. I know it's you. Isn't that amazing? The level of sisterhood, right? You would expect that these previous international pageant candidates would come and convene and join a pageant. You would think that they're the toughest of all, and that they're such worthy and intimidating competitors that I was almost nervous, honestly. I had never competed in another international pageant, so in a sense, I was a first-timer here. And my top 5, they were so gorgeous and so smart and so stunning. And I was like, I'm gonna have to pull something amazing off to beat these amazing women. And true enough, after the final Q&A round, they all told me, sweetheart, it's yours already. And the feeling in my heart to experience that camaraderie, there's nothing like it. There's really nothing like it. Nothing. And even our co-candidates, there was something that stood out among the rest to me from any pageant I ever joined in my life. There was this kind of spirit of respect and collaboration that everybody had. Everyone was so easygoing. Everyone was like, okay, we can't do that. That's fine. But we want to do this. How can we achieve this, right? Okay, who can do this? Who can do this? At times Argentina would be the translator, at times it would be Chile, at times it was me because Filipino has a lot of Spanish words in it. And if we're giving dancing directions and all we need to do is derecho, izquierda, and uno, dos, tres, right?
That's so awesome. So it certainly has been a positive experience for a lot of the candidates and your people who have now become your friends,
and
right?
Educational,
And so for those people who want to be candidates, or those who want to join this pageant, what's the criteria? How do you become, how do you even practice? How do you even become one?
Okay, how do we practice? Let's discuss practicing another time, but the qualifications first are that you have to be between 25 to 45 years old, of any walk of life, any size, any shape, any form. We have no height requirement. We have no requirement for your job or your even your experience or history. You don't have to be single. You can be married. You can have kids. You can be a businesswoman. You can, for all I care, like, wait, how old are you? Are you under 45? You're under 45.
I'm not telling anybody.
35. You're 30. We're 35 forever.
Oh my God. No, thank you so much.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, like, it could literally, like, it's a completely inclusive pageant, and I know this from my heart, from the inside out, because this is how we approach pageantry. We think that this new era of beauty should be filled with women who are, more. I personally am of the opinion, crown aside, I'm of the personal opinion that women are more beautiful when we're no longer thinking about the basics, right? So much is expected from women in our community, in our society, the whole world. The expectations are here. We have to be beautiful. We have to finish going to school. We have to get a degree. We have to get married early. We have to have children. And I personally find the experience more pleasurable when I get to know women who are a little bit more wise, a little bit more established. And that happens to us only when we've lived our lives, right? When we've gone through our journeys, when we've had our ups and downs, when we've had our kids, when we're no longer thinking about what it is we want to do for a living. Hello, you do this for a living. This is incredibly specific. And there's so much wisdom that we can learn once a woman is already established. And I think that's what's beautiful. That's what's truly beautiful for me. That's what we give, to the world.
So earlier, we were talking about like the different types, body types, different candidates who can join. And we were talking about the preconceived prejudices, especially in the Filipino community.
All right.
Right? And there's certainly colorism still in the Philippines, especially when you're in the Philippines. And so what do you think needs to be done so that there's more openness? And when we're looking at candidates, we're not looking at their color or their body type, when they're on stage.
That's true. Although they are gorgeous, although every woman that competes for Universal Woman is gorgeous, I think that the real winner is determined by what's in your heart and what's in your mind. Because a huge part of being Universal Woman is the social project, right? And for me, I'm passionate about representation. As a kid, my nickname before was Negra, do you know that? And I was called Labrador. In my school, people always saw me as a provinciana, so I was ashamed of it, kind of. And I wish I had known that there was nothing to be ashamed of back then, but I was just a little girl. When I was 7 years old, I had a field trip to Fort San Pedro, and I saw the portrait of Reina Juana as she was accepting the Santo Niño. And that was the first time I saw somebody who looked like me, with brown skin and straight, long black hair. And I felt so proud of it, That's beautiful. I saw it and I thought, that's beautiful. Why am I sitting around here being ashamed of this? Why do people say, oh, you're pretty, but you're dark? I wanted to be one of the people who was making a difference in that way. And I guess keeping that in my heart is really what led me, or the essence rather, of what led me to pursuing a crown in pageantry. But I'm so glad to see a paradigm shift in how Filipinos see themselves now, especially in our country. There's more of an appreciation for our pre-colonial culture now more than ever. We were discussing movies like Kingdom, right? Yeah. Where we really see our pre-colonial culture take center stage and kind of reimagine what we would have been like without this outside influence. Because we definitely carry over, when we talk about colorism, it's kind of an intergenerational trauma that we've carried over from one generation to another. So much so that we've already forgotten where it comes from. Most people think that it's just something that's here and now, and it's a result of whatever is popular in the Philippines. But really, it takes its roots from that trauma that we experience in our history. And that's something that I seek to, or hope to, contribute to ending by fighting for a crown. And when I think about how difficult it is to be a beauty queen and face all of the challenges, we have to look good all the time, we have to rehearse, we get so tired, we barely get to sleep, and people judge us sometimes, but we kind of have to be strong. And I remind myself of who I do it for. I do it for the inner child in me that felt I had nowhere to belong. I do it for all the little girls out there that feel they're not beautiful. That's who I want to speak to. That's who I'm dedicating my journey to. It's really a healing of my own inner child, but also I want my kids to roam the earth. Someday I'm gonna have a daughter, and I never want her to feel she is anything less than enough just because of the color of her skin. I have 6 little siblings, and I always, every moment of my life, I've been worried about them and worried that I knew they would be so different. We have very strong personalities. I knew we would be different from each other, but I never wanted them to feel what made them different was something to be ashamed of. So I always like to say to women out there, old or young, that no matter what walk of life you are, what age or what size, it's being you that's your superpower. It's what makes you different, that makes you powerful. And that no matter how many times you've failed, it's never ever too late to write a new chapter in the new era of beauty.
And so for those people who want to join the next round of candidates, can you tell us what the timeline is for that, and what do they need to start working on at this time?
Okay, so our pageant is on June 9. It culminates on June 9 with the preliminaries on June 6 in Jaipur, India. And I'm so excited to be visiting a land of cultural diversity, just like our country, the Philippines. We're looking for women between 25 to 45 years old. We currently have 60 plus countries in franchises like that have joined the pageant. Franchises are still available, so if you want to acquire a franchise, I know you might be thinking, what does that mean, right, to be a franchise holder? When you are the franchise holder of a country, you pay a licensing fee, and that gives you the right to select the official candidate from your country that will be sent to Universal Woman. You can also acquire a franchise if you wish to be a candidate and compete in the pageant. So let's say I'm not Filipino, I'm from maybe, I don't know, let's say Zimbabwe, and there's no franchise holder yet. Well, there currently is, but let's just imagine a different country. I think we have franchise holders for every country. If I want to compete and there's no franchise holder in my country, I just have to buy the franchise, and then I can go and compete. But then I would hold the franchise for 3 years. So then I would have to be the one who determines the next Universal Woman for the next 3 years. So it renews in cycles of 3 years. And yeah, so franchises are available. All you have to do is visit our page. There's a number and a link to the email in my profile. So visit Maria Gigante and you can sign up there. Or if you or anyone you know would like to be the next Universal Woman 2025, then stay tuned on my stories for the announcements. I'm going to be posting it later today and every day. Yeah.
And so come this June 2025, after your reign is over, what comes next?
Definitely. Okay, so can I be candid about something?
Okay.
Before I had a crown, I always spoke like I had nothing to lose, right? But obviously now I represent a cause, so I have to put that first. But the whole time that I've been reigning, I've always envisioned what's going to come after my reign, and there's so many exciting things that I have planned, and I'm actually so happy that you brought up the issue of colorism, because that's the next thing that I want to tackle. I can't announce it yet, and I really want to, but I think it's something that you would like, and that Morenas all over the world would like as well. It's time to put our color center stage. You asked me earlier, is there more that needs to be done when it comes to colorism, right? And I think we need to respond with, you know, if we give the choice for people to become lighter, right? If we give people the choice to become lighter, of course it's it's an extension of your freedom of expression. It's like having a certain color clothes, right? It's how you see yourself and how you wish to be seen, or how let me rephrase that. It's how you feel most beautiful that matters, right? So if the option is there to be lighter, then we should also provide the option to be darker and more tan, right? So that's coming soon. Yeah, that's the next chapter.
Wow, that's something to look forward to, and you're certainly poised to do gigantic things, just like your name says. So everybody, let's all give a round of applause to Maria Gigante. Thank you so much for being with us this afternoon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we'll see you soon. See you in the next episode of Chat with Mic.
See
Bye.
you soon.
Time to shine, shine bright, be the star you are, yeah. Time to shine, shine bright, be the star you are, yeah.
miss out. Want to be seen? Want to be heard? Want lots of exposure? Ask us how.